Hi, Nancy. Tell us a little bit how you got into nuclear. What was so amazing about nuclear that drew you in?
Honestly, it's such a long story. I would probably need like 2 hours. I will try to make it as short as possible. When I was a kid, I really followed my brother in a lot of things. I had known of the a woman cannot do certain things. My brother did something, I also did it. I don't know why. I guess it's a good thing that it was a role model. My brother played rugby, I played rugby. My brother went to do scuba diving, I did scuba diving. And I really followed him a lot, you know. He was like in high school, something like electronics high school, but he really liked nuclear energy. So I didn't like electronics, but I was like, I like nuclear energy. So I went to the same high school and did physics and chemistry, but it was under a former nuclear energy education in Italy when we still had nuclear. And so it kind of came from my brother. And it came also from a woman because when I was 12 years old, one of my idol was Licia Troisi, an Italian astrophysicist that also wrote fantasy books from my hometown. And I love their books. I only did one thing, which is, I guess, the nuclear part because I'm not a writing. And then I've always been, I guess, on the environmental side of things because my high school was, physics and chemistry for the environment. My bachelor was environment and energy. And for me, the peak of being an environmentalist is to embrace nuclear energy.
What an amazing story. So there is a sibling love, sibling rivalry, maybe a little bit. We actually talked to other people who had books impacting their life and changing how they see the world. So this is amazing. You didn't grow up in the UK, you grew up in Italy.
In Italy, yes. I'm half Italian, half South African.
What an amazing mix.
Thank you.
At the time when you and your brother were increasingly getting interested in all things nuclear and physics and chemistry, what was the perception of nuclear at the time?
Oh, no, Italy has been against nuclear since, well, they had their referendum to phase out nuclear right after Chernobyl, and they stayed against nuclear. And in 2011, right after Fukushima, they had another referendum, which still didn't like nuclear. The general opinion was against nuclear. But at the same time, my high school was named Enrico Fermi, which was a very famous nuclear physicist. And Italy has always have these mixed feelings of being against nuclear at general level, but we have really, really good nuclear physicists or nuclear scientists. So yes, I was on the side of the nuclear scientists.
How did it feel? You were in a way a bit of an outsider if the whole country is voting against nuclear and you are seeing nuclear for all the positive impact it can make on the world. How did you negotiate that tension in your mind?
Like, in my opinion, a lot of it comes from disinformation or lack of knowledge on it. So I usually always try to engage people and explain things. Of course, it depends on the person. It never bothered me. I didn't need that validation. Okay, 90% of Italians are against it, and maybe I also should be. I didn't care about that. Just liked it. That's it for me. I try to defend it when I can, but if I can't, I don't need to share everybody's opinions. Always been in, like, I played rugby and I was the only girl. So I've always been in an environment that I was somehow an outsider. My high school, my class, I was the only girl out of 20 guys as well. So I guess I'm just used to it,
So you're
which
a very
helps.
independent. You're an independent thinker who likes challenges. That's
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
guess. Yeah, yes. I can
So
argue.
then
I
you
can tell
got
you that.
into, then you started your work life. And before Createc, have you worked in other nuclear related companies?
Yes, well, I was living in Germany, and in Germany, I did both my bachelor and my master. I did it in a research center for radiation protection linked to medical stuff. And then my master was nuclear application. So I did a bit of everything like medical physics and nuclear medicine, which I absolutely love. And then I worked after my master for 3 years in Germany as research associate together with my professor Hans-Jürgen Steinmetz under the field of nuclear waste management.
Okay, fantastic. How interesting. And tell us a little bit about your journey now to Cumbria, to Createc.
Well, I drove with my small car and it was completely full. I couldn't put more things into it. I took measurements of my car to make sure I could completely fill it with stuff. And I drove from Aachen. So Aachen is on the border with Belgium and the Netherlands. I literally drove 3 hours to the Eurotunnel, did the tunnel, drove 6 hours to Cumbria with one overnight close to Cambridge.
What attracted you to working for Createc?
Yes. So I met Rosie at one of the first conferences I attended. And when she presented about Createc with Spot and this 3D radiation mapping, it was so incredibly cool. And I met her and Matt, the CTO, the founder, and it was really, really interesting. I have seen her at a few conferences because I was quite involved with DigiDecom. I was the official photographer. It's a hobby of mine. And then when she saw on LinkedIn and I was looking for a job, because I decided I wanted to move to the UK. She wrote me and told me to apply. And I sent my CV, and within 1 hour, they gave me the interview the day after, which was the fastest answer
Wow.
ever. I love this level of efficiency, not waiting like 1 month for things to happen. So this very good fit.
That's a great story. So how's it been since you arrived there? Tell us about a regular day, and maybe if you had a super exciting day so far. It will be great to hear and share that.
Yes. Well, I don't have a lot of a routine because that's one of the beauty of this company because you have so many different projects. So it's difficult to have a routine because it depends, what is happening, which fits me because I don't think I could do the same thing every day. So it does fit me. I've been loving it. Cockermouth is a really cute town. I've been very lucky with the weather because it has been quite sunny. I'm impressed by the level of sun I've received here, and the people have been really, really friendly. Even if I am given the choice to work from home, sometimes I still want to come to the office just for the chit chat around the coffee or the lunch break. So it is a lovely environment. I didn't know I could like a job this much. Let's put it like that way.
It's definitely we can get the sense that no day is like the other in
Yeah,
working
absolutely.
at Createc.
Yeah.
So previously you mentioned your professor who you used to work with. People like to help each other out. Anyone who works in nuclear, they tend to have a lot of heroes or people who cheered them on. Is there anyone you would like to a special shout out to?
Well, honestly, first of all, is my former professor, Hans-Jürgen Steinmetz. We usually call him the professor. He kind of saw me when not nobody else saw me, but he saw me for my potential, and he gave me a big, big chance because I was still a master's student. He enabled me, brought me to IAEA. Is the reason I met Rosie indirectly because of all these conferences. He has been great. Really, gave me so many chances. I took them, but at the same time, would have been very different if I didn't have him. And the British counterpart, Tony Wickham, Tony, he has been really, really good. He gave me a lot of recommendation. Also, when I was choosing if to come to UK and how, and he has been providing so much help. Everything I know about nuclear graphite is because of him, and he has been honestly an amazing person. I really respect him so much. There are a lot of people, but those two really, really affected my career. Also, Michael Giovanni has been so incredibly supportive of me, and he was teaching so many lectures. I really, really appreciate them. They're so knowledgeable. Like Michael Ojovan is like top 2% scientist for publication. He's really, really renowned.
It's incredible to hear how generous people are with their time and with advancing the next generation of scientists and people who would then go and improve the nuclear industry. It's really touching to hear. I want to go back to the nuclear's public opinion, the nuclear industry's image. How do you think nuclear industry can improve that image? If you had a magic wand, what would you change?
Probably the education system because it's like a vicious cycle. People maybe are not well educated on the topic, and then they get manipulated by media. They push it on their kids, or they go teach in kindergarten or primary school. So I seriously believe like if they knew a tiny bit of what we know without the prejudice, that would be so great. Like I know that in France and in Belgium they try to introduce nuclear to kids as environmental radioactivity first.
That is a very good idea. It's start young, definitely makes a lot of sense. And another issue that nuclear has, of course, attracting more young people, uh, amazing people like yourself into the industry. How can that happen? What can we do to improve that?
Well, so I have two answers to this. One is that I have a lot of former students that have been trying to get in the nuclear industry and they studied nuclear related subjects and they're not getting a job. So there are a lot of people that want to join the field, they're kind of not let in. We are attracting people, but sometimes we don't hire them. So I have to point out this. But at the same time, I do believe, first of all, there is this general spin that of nuclear being negative or very much we are too much associated to nuclear bombs because of our history. Like when we started, nuclear power plants were secretive and it was connected to the military. And so that is still part of an issue. I do believe is reaching out when they're young, because when I was in high school, I didn't know I could do the job I do now. I didn't know about nuclear medicine, and I could be a medical physicist, for example. And in Italy, we didn't have nuclear at the time. I do think a lot of people don't know all of the jobs you can do in nuclear. They don't know that you can do HR, recruiting in nuclear. They don't know about these things. And if you reach out to them when they're already graduated, they already know which jobs they want to do. It's too late. So you need to tell them in high school, all of these things, you can do them in nuclear.
I very much agree with what you said. It's too late when you start talking to people when they're about to choose a job. You need to educate them and bring nuclear into their awareness much earlier so they have a positive feeling towards the industry, like they do have towards many, many other industries, because at the end of the day, nuclear is in competition with lots of other industries for the top talents. For anyone who is already working, have a career, but they really like how nuclear looks, any tips how they can get into nuclear from other fields?
Nuclear mostly takes talents from other fields because the amount of people with nuclear education in nuclear is very little. Like all the mechanical engineer, my team of physicists, radiation physicists, radiometrics, none of them are technically speaking from nuclear. They are from physics, and then they are adapted to nuclear. I am the only one that studied straight. I really compare nuclear to sci because sci is like all of the other genre of writing. You have a thriller, you have a crime, a drama, whatever. You are just changing the settings instead. And nuclear is like you have all of the jobs, like chemical engineer, electrical, robotics, HR. You are just putting them in the setting of nuclear. So you're adding that different environment. So it's very easy to make the transition. You just need onboarding.
I love your answer, the comparison to sci-fi. I think this is such a vivid comparison, and I can only agree. So I definitely will quote you on that in the future. Is there anything you feel needs to be aired, needs to be said before we close? Any questions you feel strongly that people need to ask you more?
I guess maybe one potential thing would be the fact that I've never been bothered by my gender in nuclear or in career or at university. And I think that would be great if we would reach that. I'm all for gender equality and giving the same chance and possibilities. But if someone has a preference, has a preference, so you shouldn't force it. So sometimes it feels like they're almost forced, making women feel forced to study in some fields. And it goes other way around as well. Like maybe men want to study more literature and other fields, but then they feel like they should be into engineering or jobs that provide more and things like that. So it goes both ways.
I totally hear you. It's diversity, isn't it? It's not just gender diversity, but it's diversity of backgrounds, diversity of race, their ethnicity, a diversity of any sexual orientation. Can be anything really.
Yeah.
Make nuclear a more diverse workplace is what you're
Yeah.
talking about, with all flavors of diversity.